There are two aspects to the use of data in 2020 cricket. One, when it comes to in-game, in-match tactics, and the other on how much it might facilitate the larger picture for franchises, auction tables, scouting, and whatnot. It's quite well known that MS Dhoni is not as big a buyer into it. I don't think Virat Kohli either, or RCB are the kind that employ a lot into data. I know that you clearly seem like you rely on it, or rather you are, where you welcome it to facilitate a lot of cricket argument. Where do you stand on the importance of it when it comes to managing 2020 cricket, in-game and outside?
I think we need to again strike that balance. So I think just using it blindly with numbers, also there's a human element to this. I think you can never forget there's a human element to teams. When you're managing teams and you're coaching teams, there's a human element to it. You can't just go blindly to a player and say, this is what the numbers say, so you shouldn't play. Or this is what the numbers say in this situation. You've got to manage an environment. You've got to manage a team. And that's, so that's why I feel that, geeks will never, or just play numbers. I'm so sorry. Will never be able to completely take over. Because you will, teams don't run like that. Teams don't work like that. There's an emotional element to it. But even as a coach, sometimes you also want captains who are not just going, like I said, there's a human element to it. Yeah, the numbers might say that bowl X on a particular day. But a captain on the field can get a feel that he's actually not up for it today. Numbers can't quantify whether he's carrying a niggle. Numbers can't quantify whether someone is not feeling up for it on that particular day. Sure. You can sense that on the field. So there's a mix of both. So as a coach, I'm like, as a coach sometimes sitting outside, if captains take a gut call on the field, you sometimes do back them, as long as you know that it's not just doing it blindly. So yeah, I think Dhoni and Dhoni especially, I think he gets that. He gets the feel of that.
I just want to ask Rahul actually, because he believes in the numbers a lot and uses it well. Any instance of selections that you made as coach where you use data and make a call that, the pundits from outside, the gurus felt, what's happened?
Okay, just maybe going back to a while back at sort of Rajasthan Royals. I mean, Brad Hodge is a good example. I probably said it somewhere, used it somewhere. I think, I can't remember which IPL it was, but maybe it was the third or the fourth IPL. And, we at Rajasthan Royals, obviously at that stage, very much a budget team. And
Still are.
I think they spend a lot more money now that I've quit. but they hardly spend any money, and we're looking for a sort of middle order batsman to fill up. We didn't have any middle order batsman, and Brad Hodge's name came up in the auction list, or the auction this thing. And if you just looked at Brad Hodge's numbers vis-a-vis the IPL, at that stage he had played at KKR, he had played I think in Kochi, he had played for 2 or 3 other teams. And his numbers weren't great. I think his strike rate was 105 or something like that. And his average wasn't good. His numbers weren't great. And, we looked at him. But one of the interesting things, as we were looking at his numbers and we looked at it closely and we looked at why he's so sort of successful in say, overseas or in the BBL. One of the things was that he really struggled, and his strike rate really came down because, he struggled against left arm spin. For one thing, he struggled against left arm spin. The 2 venues that he played in those days, not the Kolkata now, that, the Kolkata of the early days of the IPL, which used to turn square. Which is to turn square. And he had played...
No.
and the one, and at Kochi were, turning wickets. And so we looked at those numbers and said, maybe, there's something to it. And then just looked at the position in which we would try and protect him and bat him in a position wherein, one of the things we did notice as well was Brad Hodge's ability to play quality fast bowling was exceptional. His ability to take down, and he had in his career, obviously a very good batsman, very successful batsman for a reason, because he could take down quality fast bowling. So we chose to pick him in the auction and bat him only in the last 5 overs of a game. A lot of people looked at us and said, why are you doing this? This is a guy whose average is so much. Look at his average in T20 cricket, look at his numbers. But, nobody was looking at it sort of that carefully. Nor was Brad Hodge. When we first told him you're only going to bat in the last 30 balls of a game, he looked at me and said, why do you want me to do that? Give me, coach, let me bat at number 3. I'll score you 450 runs in a season.
So if you tell him that data suggests you're not good against left arm spin, does he buy into that?
Or not initially, not easily. That's, I think, the challenge. That's where I think more and more stats and more research into stat is going to help. Because it's going to help coaches to be able to convince players that's not, at that time we didn't have the help of a lot of these things. We were just going on some of the basics, numbers and stats that we had. And we were able to convince him that his batting in the last 5 overs was best for him and best for the team in the IPL. It might not be the same in the BBL.
Sure.
It was best for him in the IPL. he won us a few games. He didn't buy into it initially. I said, I don't want your 450 runs that you'll get me at 3. I want 200 runs at 160 strike rate against Dale Steyn, Mitchell Johnson, Ravi Rampal, these kind of guys, Malinga at the back end. And he won us 2 or 3 games. He played for Australia in a T20 World Cup, batting at number 6 in Bangladesh. He got back into the Australian team. I think just stuff like that, it was really stuff that was really, really interesting.
I like that.
And we felt at that stage people were, I think people have moved on from that. People are looking at stats very, very better now and much more.
The two of you strike me as the kind of people that didn't mind having a look at numbers to try and validate or further make a cricketing point. Is the modern day player as receptive to data and numbers? Or do they just dismiss it? How hard was it? Or do you find different characters?
Again, as we're getting better and better at numbers and more, geeks, and we have to and we have to acknowledge that.
Geek is being said as a positive thing here.
In this environment,
wear it as a badge of honor.
In this environment, it's a very positive thing. Other than the 6 guys from here, from IIT, I'm not sure many people here understand cos and tan theta and all of that stuff. It lost me at 9th standard, boss. So, so I think as more and more people are putting time and research into this, and more and more people are doing stuff like, this and the kind of work Rajesh and all do, I think it becomes more and more believable and more trustable for players as well.